So proud of you.
And hello, football fans. Welcome back to Hurdle the Line. This is week 11. This is the review show. I'm your host, Chapman. As always, I have with me Tom. I've got Ollie and the super producer, Fletch. How are we, guys?
Very
Uh,
good.
I believe this is the first Monday where
Yeah,
Tom is not coming in with a victory Monday.
I uh,
Yes.
I put a nice little message in the group chat. Welcome to Loser Monday, Tom. It's
We
good
got
to
that
have you
message
here.
from you yesterday, Ollie. You're like,
Yeah,
yeah, you join the rest of us.
yeah, it's good to have you here, Tom. Welcome to the dark side.
The 72 Dolphins salute you,
Yeah, they are
as
very
they always
happy.
do with
All
their
the Dolphins
champagne.
Well,
fans.
I saw Larry Zonka literally like minutes after the game posted like with a beer, being like, yeah, continue the streak. It's like, yeah, well, you're not the greatest team of all time, but still, you did go
Hey,
undefeated. So
doesn't matter. They've got their piece of history.
yeah, yeah.
But talking about history, did you guys watch the Paul Tyson fight this weekend? We want to
Oh
talk
God,
Yeah.
about
no,
history.
no, I did
Uh,
not.
I
thoughts, feelings, emotions on that.
Oh my God. The fact I stayed up for it, I'm disappointed in myself.
Oh,
But I actually watched it. I don't know why I did it to myself. I knew what the outcome was going to be before it, but I somehow was like, yeah, let's put it on. And the co-main was actually good, so I watched that. And then the Netflix streaming was terrible. They kept going behind and what have you. But yeah, was not worth watching. Disgrace to boxing. Move on.
I have lots of thoughts on the actual production that Netflix put together, including a lot of the. I don't know if you caught the Jerry Jones and Michael Irving
A lot
bit,
of
and
that.
then even before that, they had Holyfield and Lennox Lewis out, which was not odd, but like also they couldn't hear each other. It was bad. Anyway, we'll save that for the sports production podcast that we're going to be launching on the AAW network. Fletch, as you
right,
are
don't
a
start
resident,
adding work to my week. Don't start adding work to my week and just dropping it on me in public.
Fletch, as you are a resident vampire, up God knows what night hours of the evening, did you stay up and watch it in real time? No.
The Paul Tyson fight.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it. I was like a normal human being. I was watching UTSA. Um, like a normal human being. That
Fair.
was a listen, if when you've got a rigged fight, I like boxing. I can't do with this whole stunt of boxing. And then you've
Yeah,
got a
I
college
agree.
game where the over under before the game is 72.5. Give me a game that's gonna go 72.5. So like no, like any normal person, I was watching UTSA instead.
Ah, yes. UTSA. I also did watched it, but I watched it the next morning. Tom, I when we got to like close to 2 a.m. and I'm like, there's still another fight before the actual fight. I was like,
I
I'm
know.
out. I am out.
It's because I turned it on as well, and I was like, and then I was like, oh, like maybe the fight actually starts that, and then it was like, oh no, in the lead up to the co-main event, and yeah, I kept turning it on to be like, has it started? And it was just Jerry Jones droning on with other Cowboys there, just because it's at AT&T Stadium, even though they're not
So happy to be
relevant,
here.
and yeah,
So
just yeah, don't need that.
Can
So
I can I put a shout out to Jerry Jones though, who finally found out how to use the curtains in Cowboy Stadium.
yeah,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, on a
yeah.
Friday night, it decided to learn how, and not a Sunday afternoon. But
Mm.
congratulations on the Cowboys for learning how to do it.
And this is why Fletch is a great producer, gets us back on track talking about what we're here to talk about, which is football. Before we get into week 11 and all the happenings, I want to remind you that our sponsor, Fantasy Game Day app, is still available. It's the UK's only UK-based fantasy app that's for the UK, and you can use our code HURDLE. That's HRDLE. It's Hurdle without the U, and lets them know that we've sent you over there. You can go have a lot of fun on your Sundays. If you want a little extra, action on some players or playing around with it, it's really fun. We love the guys over at Fantasy Game Day app, and we are appreciative of them. So please go help us support us. Again, the code is HRDLE. Hurdle without the U.
If you are on video or audio, head to the description of the episode, and I will record a pre segment that we can just throw in at some point instead. Oh, you don't have to do this anymore, Chapman. It's fine. We'll have you covered.
But I like doing the ad reads. I like making them personal so that people know, I take this. Now, I'll also say there's two things. Actually, there's one historical thing that happened today, and I'm going to try to throw this out. There's one person that should know what this is, but one historical thing happened today that has never happened in the history of the NFL. Can you tell me what it is? And it does have to do with betting.
The,
Five,
De- the
four,
Detroit
three.
Lions are the favorites for the Super Bowl for the first time ever, I'm guessing.
That is correct. The Detroit Lions are now the betting favorite to win the Super Bowl, which is the first time in the history of the NFL that the Lions have ever been the favorite to win a Super Bowl in however many daggum years they have been a football team. So that is crazy. Anyway, I thought that was a really interesting tidbit
I
to tell
agree.
you.
I agree.
There's also one other historical thing that's happened today, but happens to be part of our little Hurl the Line podcast. Can you guys tell me what that is? It's the first time I've hosted the show or been on the show without wearing any Falcons gear
Oh
because
wow,
I am
yeah.
in protest. I am in protest.
I started that quite a few weeks back with the Browns gear. I'm glad that no one had noticed, and I once again am not wearing Browns gear after a loss. So I'm
Well,
glad to have you on board,
I might get
Chapman.
my Hawk stuff out now too because I think that's going to be my team moving forward for the
Yeah.
next couple months. Anyway, we'll get to that later. Our crappy
well,
teams.
can I just say, all three of us have been doing this for a long time and not wearing Falcons gear. So we're
Yeah.
we're with you. I'm not wearing Falcons gear either
Hey,
in
actually,
protest for you.
Tom wore a
I've
Falcons
actually
Tom did.
worn
jersey.
it
Tom did.
before, and
Yeah,
it really
Yeah, that's
freaked
actually
out
true.
Chapman.
yeah,
Well,
He was
me,
like,
me
"What
and
are you
Ollie have
doing?"
stuck true to it. Me and Ollie were there for you since
yeah.
the
We were
start, and not
there
wearing
for you.
Falcons stuff.
Well, moving right along, guys. There was a couple of injuries, I believe, just to talk about really quickly before we get into it. Fletch, you want to tell us about the Lions injury?
Yeah, Alex Anzalone, linebacker, previously of the Saints, broke his forearm. He'll be out 6 to 8 weeks. 7 weeks left of the season, so hopefully could be out back around hopefully the first week of the postseason. I think is the ideal. But we'll see on that one.
And the Browns lost their left tackle, was it?
Yeah, offensive tackle Dewan Jones, second year tackle, out of Ohio State, broke his ankle, got rolled up on by his own player. Always disappointing to see. So now, unfortunately, Browns fans will have to watch Jedrick Wills play left tackle again.
Well, disappointing for Browns fans, I'm
Very
sure. Sorry, I've got
disappointing.
no response.
Very disappointing.
By the way, just so everyone knows, Tom apparently is the only person who made it through COVID without using Zoom ever. So he's now playing around with Zoom for the first time, and he found
I'm
out how to do
enjoying it. I'm having
backgrounds.
fun. I'm having.
So he's experiencing what everybody else in the world during 2020 got. So anyway, well, let's get into it, guys. The first game, which is the game of the week, easy enough, was the game last night against the Chiefs, losing to the Bills 30-21. A game that we were all anticipating, very excited about. What's crazy is the Bills have won the last 4 regular season meetings, but the Chiefs have won the last 3 playoff meetings. Exactly. So, they're nothing new to winning in the season. But what's interesting about this is obviously the Chiefs were undefeated going into this game. I personally think it's good to go ahead and get it out of the way because then there's not the pressure. But that's just me. I haven't had an undefeated team 10 weeks into the season before.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Me neither.
this game was not while the stats weren't gaudy for Josh Allen, it was Josh Allen won this game for the team, especially on that 26 yard touchdown at the end. But Tom, tell us about your thoughts about the game, being
Yeah, I
being on the
mean,
sidelines there.
I think it was as advertised. To be fair, it felt like it was going to be like a back and forth game, and it was. There was plenty of changing the scoreboard. It looked like the Bills were gonna run away with it when Curtis Samuel went in, and I think they went up 21-13 at that point. Then the Chiefs score, um, one of 2 touchdowns for Noah Gray, who had himself a nice little game. And then it looked like the Chiefs were gonna, go back on top. But then the offense kind of stalled out. The Bills got the ball back. And then, the decisive play of the game, Josh Allen, needing, like, knowing that it's going to be Josh Allen really to make the play. And he has that great run. Obviously, some not great tackling from the Chiefs on that play, but at the same time, it was just him versus himself really on that run, just rumbling his way. And as soon as he went in for the score, you kind of knew it was going to be the end of the game, even with the Mahomes pick, to seal it. So yeah, and as you alluded to, they win the regular season matchups. When it comes to the playoffs, it's a different story. So I think that's going to be the case again. Obviously, I know this Bills team is, really, really performing well and above expectations compared to what people thought of them at the start of the season, especially the defense. So yeah, fair play to them in that aspect. But I do expect them to see in the playoffs. I expect it to be a different result. So, but yeah, a really good game all round. A good game from Mahomes, good game from Allen. And yeah, just an exciting one. And Chiefs Bills is all you need to say, really.
This is over the last the last 20 years, especially 2000s, the matchup was Peyton versus Brady. And Brady owned Peyton. But what I love about this one is, I mean, granted, like you said, the playoff wins haven't been there for Jared Allen. But this has been it's always a heavyweight fight. We also remember, the 13-second game, and there's just a lot. I mean, I almost remember more of these games than I have any Falcons game in the last 6 years, just to be honest with you. No, but it was funny because somebody was mentioning on one of the podcasts I listened to today about, the Steelers Ravens games, and I'm like, yeah, they're good games, but they're not. Problem is there's never it's not an iconic quarterback matchup. And I truly believe if there was no Patrick Mahomes, we Josh Allen would have at least two Super Bowls by now or something. But anyway, that's the size to say. It's just these teams really bring out the best in each other, I guess. Even though yesterday they still, some sloppy play, but the best in terms of defense all around. So, did you have any thoughts on the game yesterday?
Yeah, just a great win for the Bills. Again, I need to stress that I owe the Bills and Bills Mafia an apology. Not that I didn't have them not making the playoffs
I
this
picked
year,
the
but I
Dolphins to win a
certainly,
division. Yeah.
I mean, come on. If Tua didn't get injured, I think they'd have won the. I'm joking. No, Josh Allen has been absolutely unbelievable. I can't. I'm running out of adjectives to describe how good he's been this year. I think that rushing touchdown yesterday now means he stands alone as the second all-time most rushing touchdowns in Bills history. He's now overtaken OJ Simpson to be second. I think he's only about 5 off of first place, which is pretty insane when you consider he's a quarterback and he's only played, 6 years now. Just a really good win for the Bills. They're obviously now 9-2. The Chiefs are 9-1. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out in terms of who gets that number 1 seed. I don't think there's many other teams. I mean, you can maybe argue the Steelers, but I doubt it. I think it is going to just be a 2-horse race now between the Bills and the Chiefs for that number 1 seed in the AFC, especially when you consider that half the AFC is got 4 wins. So great game. And as you said, Tom, I think it's just going to be the precursor for the playoff matchup, which, any neutral, any NFL fan it would be incited and really looking forward to watch. So another great matchup between these two teams, something that we've just come to expect now at this point.
I think that's nice to eat and crow. I would like to go on record and remind everyone that I was contrarian and said I think the Bills this is going to be a good year for them, despite the fact that, and I think sometimes addition by subtraction, when you've had a team have the success but sort of not making the mountaintop a few times, changing things up isn't always a terrible thing. But it's interesting too, the Bills doing this without just like a stellar cast. I know Cooper played yesterday and did all right. It was just interesting that there were Kincaid, he was out, but there was still, he was running around.
Shakir, wasn't it? A lot
Mm-hmm.
of the passing game for him. Yeah, as you said, Amari Cooper. What's
2
his name was
catches.
out as well. Keon Coleman wasn't playing as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, they did have kind of depleted I mean, they both teams had depleted receiving core.
Well, that's what I
Really.
was gonna. That's where I was gonna get to. I was gonna say it's also, I know DeAndre Hopkins is now with the Chiefs and still getting hit, but he's obviously on the other side of his career. It's not, Travis Kelce had a pretty quiet day. Xavier Worthy, not a pretty good day, 61 and a touchdown. So it's interesting that both teams are sort of doing it with, I don't want to say a patchwork. I mean, there's still some big names on both. There's the big names on the Chiefs side, I would say, but the quarterbacks are elevating these players in a way because they're spreading the ball around. Not one person has to do it all, which is great. I still think the Chiefs probably have a gear that we haven't seen yet. I think that's probably what you're alluding to, Tom. So it'll be interesting come January when the Chiefs.
Just wait for his Isaiah Pacheco's coming back next week.
There you
Charles
go.
Omenihu who's coming back next week. Hollywood Brown's going to come back in the
I will
playoffs.
say though, I mean,
Uh,
I know it is the regular season, and you know, it, you can't take too much stock into that. But Patrick Mahomes you, I don't think you can deny is been a lot less. What's the word I'm looking for? Safe with the ball. You look
Yeah.
at his interception numbers this year compared to the touchdowns. I think it's you can't deny that the numbers aren't there. But as you said, it's whether when it comes to the playoff time they switch it on, which they always seem to do. But I do think it is worth noting that this is the worst statistical output from Mahomes pretty much at any point in the season. At this point in the season in any year of his career. But it's Patrick Mahomes. We'll see. We'll see.
what's his playoff touchdown to interception ratio, Ollie?
But it's not the playoffs yet, Tom. That's my point.
43 to 8. But yeah, we'll see a couple
That's
of
what I'm saying. He's already got more interceptions in what 10 games this year than he's got in however many
Chiefs
playoff
are still
games.
9-1. We'll see what happens.
I'm not I'm not saying he's going to throw you out of games. I just think it's worth noting.
Well, I think we've talked enough about this game, and I'm going to move us on along before you two, because if we want to talk about stats, let's talk about Joe Burrow. So the Bengals go into LA and lose 27-34 to the Los Angeles Chargers and Justin Herbert, who looked fantastic yesterday. If you took him and his over rushing yards, kudos to you, because I did not have that. But I have a stat here, which I'll find while you guys start talking about this game about Joe Burrow over the last 3 weeks. Oh, yes, I have it here. He's the first quarterback to throw for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, no picks, 3 consecutive games, and lose all three. Yikes. Anyway, this was a really fun game. I unfortunately didn't stay up to watch it. I watched a lot of the highlights today. Did you guys have a peek at this one?
Yeah, I watched the highlights of it just before coming on, actually. Very back and forth game. It looked like the Chargers were kind of taking control to start with. As you said, Justin Herbert throwing the ball all over the yard. It doesn't matter who he has at receiver. He just seems to, make it work, whether it's like Quentin Johnson or whether it's Josh Palmer or what have you. Um, so yeah, like really impressive performance from them. And then with the Bengals coming back as well, that was super impressive. That absolute moon ball from Joe Burrow to who was it, T. Higgins. That was a great touchdown. And then, they tied it up after going down. I think it was what 27-6 at some point. It looked like the
Mm-hmm.
Chargers were gonna charger it away until finally, they got the touchdown that won them the game after the Bengals had missed two field goals as well. So what is it with kickers missing field goals at the moment? Either there's something in the air or something, but they had a chance to go up by three twice in the space of what in this with 7 minutes left and then with 2 minutes left and missed both those field
Mm-hmm.
goals and then the Chargers made them pay. So really good game though, really good game around.
It's just crazy that I mean the Bengals have been without a doubt a top five offense in the NFL this year, and they're 4-7. Season's pretty much over. It just kind of shows you the cruel world of the NFL. You look at teams with similar records to them, and they're bottom of the league in both defense and offense, and this is a team that's got a top five offense, and they're 4-7. It's just crazy. Chapman, you alluded to it. Joe Burrow, the numbers. You don't look at the win loss record. You just look at the numbers, and it's an MVP caliber season. Incredible numbers from Joe Burrow this year. Incredible numbers from Jamar Chase this year. You look at T. Higgins in this game coming back off injury, over 140 yards receiving and a touchdown. He was excellent, and they still lost. It's just pretty crazy. I think we alluded to it last week that the defense has regressed. Obviously, this week, pardon me, this week the special teams didn't help them out as well, and it just kind of goes to show that as good as you are on one side of the ball, if you don't play complementary football, you're not going to win many games. And unfortunately, that's been the case for the Cincinnati Bengals this year. As much as it brings me joy to talk about the Bengals losing, at least one of the AFC North teams is in the basement with me. So, but it is insane to see how good they've been on offense, and they're 4-7.
They've got to be the best 4-7 team, like
Probably.
of all time.
Probably.
Fully.
Well,
Like the
they've
amount of one-score games that they've lost as
6.
well.
They've lost
1
6.
score games, yeah.
Yeah, they're like the bizarro version of that that Vikings team from
Yeah,
3
the
years
opposite
ago
of the
that won
Vikings,
won
yeah.
like every single one of those games. So yeah.
They were like
Um,
12-1 in one-score games, weren't they? Like,
Yeah, it was mental.
but let's also talk about the Chargers here for just a second. I mean, just think about where they were a year ago, and how much. I mean, I hate to say it, but how much John Harbaugh is meant to come into this team, even and he's transformed this defense into a real defense. Even though yesterday, obviously, they gave the most points they've given up all season, but to a great offense. Let's just admit it.
Yeah.
And Justin Herbert's playing like he has. I mean, granted, he was hurt a couple of those seasons, obviously with Deuce Staley, or I keep calling him Deuce Staley. I'm sorry, Saints on the brain. With Brandon Staley.
Brandon Staley, yeah.
Sorry,
Deuce
as
Staley
head
is
coach.
currently the Browns running back coach.
Is he? Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. I knew he was somewhere around. Yeah.
we the Browns in there somewhere, really. Yeah,
You
There
know
we
me,
go.
Tom. You know me.
Anyway, getting back to what I was saying, it's just I have a lot of coach envy sometimes, but John Harbaugh, I mean, he's done a terrific job with this team, and honestly, like to me, this is one of those little sneaky teams. And Tom, I know you're supremely confident at this point, but this is one of those teams you're not going to want to see in January if they get in the dance. And like again, I don't think they're catching you in terms of the division. But it's Jim. Yeah, I always mix them up. You can, yeah, sorry, it's Jim Harbaugh.
I didn't even notice. I didn't even notice you said John.
The slightly crazier one.
Yeah,
But what I was gonna say is I've seen it in the NFL before. You could be awesome, but man, there's just sometimes teams that in January just can catch on. And this team seems to just keep building, and they have a great defense, and that's what you need.
Yeah.
Going in. And granted, Kansas City's got a defense that there's no slouch either. But I'm not saying anything directly. I'm really interested to see. I'm also going to start betting on this team now because they seem to be doing really well and keeping games really close. But hats off, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
and yeah, their defense was kind of the star of the show of the majority of this game before the Bengals came back into it. Their front, Tui Pelotu, I think it is. I think he had 2 sacks. I think they had multiple sacks on Joe Burrow. They kept getting pressure. And even though they were getting beat over the top a little bit, like the improvement they've had in the space of a year, like giving up what did they give up to the Raiders last year? Was it 63 points? And then this season to be one of the best defenses in the NFL back to front. Yeah, as you said, that does breed, playoff success. Like a lot of teams in the past have done well in the playoffs behind a really good defense. So, and they got a great quarterback. So, yeah, they're a dangerous team, and look forward to playing them later in the year.
Well, I'm going to move on to the next game, which was an AFC North grudge match, which both my colleagues here have told me they were bored of, but we're going to hit it anyway because it was an important game. And it was the one in which the Steelers defeat the Ravens 18-16. Not a lot of offense in this game. It was really a disappointing game from both quarterbacks, to be really honest with you, both Lamar and Russell Wilson. Weirdly enough, the Steelers had 18 points and 18 first downs, and the Ravens had 16 points and 16 first downs in this game. I always bring out the knowledge. Anyway, this game was a lot of defense. The play of the game for me was Queens taking the ball. Who did he get it from? But the defense
Justice
player,
Hill, didn't he? Ripped out
yeah,
his
from
hands.
Justice Hill, ripped it out of his hands. Man, it was such a awesome play, and it was a real momentum changer, kind of early on in the game. And it just felt like the Ravens really not necessarily pounded excuse me, the Steelers not necessarily pounded the Ravens here, but they felt sort of in control for I think most of the game, and Lamar just looked like he had no answer for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, oh, you
I
go.
was just gonna say this Steelers defense is legit. Um, their defense has always been a strong point, but this year in particular, I believe it's the best defense I've seen since around 2017, 2018 from the Steelers. It really is that good. They're going to give a lot of teams problems on the defensive side of the ball. Lamar Jackson, who was having an MVP caliber season, pretty much, not shut him down, but as you said, Chapman just caused him to rest the whole game. Constant pressure, constantly in his face. Just a really, really good performance out of them. It's disgusting to see that they've won another game without scoring a touchdown.
Hmm.
I think they've now. I think it's the most. You can double check me if I'm wrong on this, Chapman or Fletch, but I think I read that it's the most games a team has won without scoring a touchdown in a season, and it's only been 10 weeks. Sorry, 11 weeks. So I think it's like 4 games already this year they've won without scoring a touchdown, which is just a testament to that defense. With a defense that's that good, all you need to ask for your offense really is to just play conservatively, not turn the ball over, and just keep the chains moving as best as they can, and that's what they've been able to do. Russell Wilson is now what 4-0 as a starter with the Steelers. We all laughed at that switch at the time, and it just goes to show you why Mike Tomlin is paid the money he is to coach the Steelers and why we're not, because he got that decision right. Justin Fields did come in at the end of this game to try and ice it out and get the first down, which he ended up sliding 1 yard short. But no,
Yeah.
just for me, the biggest takeaway was just again the Steelers defense. They really are legit.
Let me just pop in here. Tom, you were talking about kickers earlier, and I think this game was a display of both sides of the coin, where you had Boswell for the Steelers hitting all his field goals and basically winning the game for them. But then you also have Justin Tucker, who missed a 50-yarder and I think a 40-something yarder in this game. A guy who's going to go into the Hall of Fame one day for kicking.
Is he
He just
washed?
seems like, yeah, he just
Yeah,
seems like
it's
he's
not a
washed.
stretch to say that
I
he's
mean, this
definitely
is
not the
not
best
just
kicker
this
in the
year.
NFL anymore.
It's
No.
not just this year. Panning back 2 years now, especially from 50 plus, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Mm.
So maybe this is the fall off from Justin Tucker.
Yeah, and Boswell is actually 29 for 30 on field goals this year for the
Oh yeah,
Steelers. Tomlin actually after the game made some comment about how he's tired of Boswell getting like player of the week and all this stuff because that's how they keep winning. But he's like, what? I'd rather have him on my team. So he's, I think it's a little tongue in cheek there. But again, talking about a different kind of dangerous team. The Steelers team is just sneaky, sneaky good, and um. I they're going to be again a force in the playoffs. It's just weird because there's just no juggernauts in the AFC this year. It's just going to be a really great AFC playoffs, I think, if we keep getting all these games.
Yeah, and
yeah.
Patrick Queen, to go from the Ravens, he had a lot to say in the lead up to this game, having not been offered a new contract with the Ravens and then switching over to the Steelers. Um, the fact that, after the game, Mike Tomlin was like, "What one man's trash is another man's treasure." Like that was kind of the way that it like
I mean,
worked for him
that's
anyway.
one way of putting it.
Yeah, I know, true. I mean, it is.
They couldn't afford to pay him, but
Yeah, I mean, but he made a real impact on this game, as you said, Chapman. That play that he made to rip that ball off was a monumental play. Also, TJ Watt taking down Derek Henry in the backfield. Like
Oh
I've
man, that
never
hit was
seen
awesome.
Derek Henry stopped like that. Really, like he
Did
usually
you
gets
see
a
my?
few yards.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Tom. I didn't mean that. I think I texted everybody, or I was on the Discord about that. Man, that is. I've never seen Derrick Henry hit like that in my life. Oh my goodness, that hit was awesome.
Yeah, that was mad. And that just set the tone for this Steelers defense that is, as we've all alluded to, is absolutely elite. So it can carry them in games, even if the offense isn't playing so well. And yeah, they're going to be a real dangerous team in the playoffs as well. So as you said, there's no real clear team out and out in the AFC right now. You got three teams that are battling it out for that one seed. So
Yeah. Well, just as we move on, just a quick thing. A lot is always said about this rivalry as one of the best in the NFL, but I'll leave you with this. It must be noted that the Steelers have now won 8 of the last 9 meetings.
Mm,
That's not quite a rivalry. Not
they've
quite a
got their number.
rivalry. Yeah. Well, moving on to the next game. This was another rivalry game within division, and it was the Seahawks defeating the 49ers 20-17 off the heroics of Geno Smith. I know we all didn't get to play because of this was obviously in the afternoon. I was watching Falcons and also watching Chiefs Bills, so this was sort of the third game on that card. But this was actually a really good one. It actually means a lot because it's now both the Seahawks and the 49ers 5-5. And they're still trying to battle out. And I mean, the 49ers, man, like what's happening? They've gotten, I would say the player of the game for this game was Walker. He had a real, he only had 54 yards on the ground, but he really was big for them. And also Smith and Jigba, who I of course had on my bench. But Gino wins the game for them at the end with a 13-yard run to seal it. Did you guys get to watch any of the highlights of this one?
Yeah, the game really changed. The complexion of the game really changed once Nick Bosa went out because he'd kind of been dominating the Seahawks
Is it
offensive
injured, did he?
line. So he had 2 sacks and then he got injured because I think he already had an injury in the lead up to it, but then he re-aggravated the injury that he had. So he was on the sideline the rest of the game, and that kind of really allowed the Seahawks to take advantage of that. They weren't seeing as much pressure, and Gino had more time to throw the ball down the field to Jackson Smith and Jigba, to DK Metcalf, and they found their way back in the game. And I think they also got a pick as well. Like there was a big man pick for the Seahawks on Brock Purdy as well. So don't know what is happening with the 49ers. Their best player on the day was definitely Juwan Jennings. He had a really good game for them. It would look like it was going to be a game-winning performance from him. But yeah, Christian McCaffrey hasn't come back. Obviously I know he's been out for a while, but they haven't seemed to be able to get him going properly. And I don't know what this 49ers team is really. Are they gonna put together a few wins and you know be one of those contenders in the NFC, or are they just gonna fizzle out and maybe not make the playoffs or something? I
Hmm.
don't know, but it's
Well, a
really
little
weird
little
right now.
tidbit for you both. They have the largest point differential in the division, and they are currently fourth in the division. Obviously, by the tiebreakers is the reason they are fourth, because we said it last week how interesting this NFC West is shaping up to be, and you've got 3 teams at 5-5 and one team at 6-4 in the Cardinals, the team that everyone thought would be at the bottom of this division. So again, just kind of another kind of another spanner in the crazy season that is the NFC West this year. Who knows where it's going to end up? Like you said, Tom, is it going to be the 49ers that string off a few wins? Is it going to be the Rams, who seem to be on a bit of momentum? Is it going to be the Seahawks? Who knows? It's going to be really interesting to see. I personally didn't catch much of this game because, as you said, Chapman, it was one of those games that was kind of on at the same time as other games, so I didn't catch it as much. But obviously, great win for the Seahawks to get an in-division win, which, as we've said, the way this is shaping out this division, they're going to be really crucial to have those tiebreakers come the end of it.
McDonald as well. I know the first few weeks they were one of the better defenses in the NFL, and from the last few weeks, they've been one of the worst in terms of point differential and giving up points. But they seem to really turn a corner in this game. They played really well defensively, tackling. Reek Wallen had a good game. Devin Witherspoon had a deflection that then was caught for the pick. And then yeah, Geno Smith, final drive of the game, going down and getting the touchdown to seal it with mere seconds left. So yeah, really impressive win and gutsy win for the Seahawks.
Yep. And our next game uh, featured an ending which we saw last week with your team, Tom, and that was Green Bay Packers defeating the Bears 20-19, losing on a last minute field goal that was blocked by the Packers. I'll say I got to, I was watching this one on Red Zone. I was impressed that the Bears, after firing their offensive coordinator over the week, promoted Thomas Brown. Had a pretty good day, and Caleb definitely looked a lot better. But at the end of the day, the Packers win this one. Gents, what did you guys think about this one?
As you said, much better day from Caleb, which, I'd like to say was a credit to the coaching staff and the offensive line figuring it out. But to be honest, it was more so just Caleb being able to run out of it. I think he had 70 rushing yards in this game. I think the first 3 carries he had went for about 50 yards. He was running around a lot of the time. So, those problems are still there, despite the improved performance. But again, it wasn't enough, obviously, to win this game. Packers were able to win it, which I suppose you could say it was enough because obviously he got him into field goal range, and it was blocked. So, catch 22 really, how you want to view it that way. But obviously, as the resident Caleb Williams fan, I kept my eye on him in this game, and while he was better, it was still noticeable that everything around him still isn't great. He's still having to run around, way more than he should. And to be honest, at this point, I just think the sooner they sack this regime and bring someone else in, the better.
Yeah, and for the Packers side of things, this was the Josh Jacobs game. Like, it wasn't like a game for a lot of the wide receivers or anything like that. He seemed to like he didn't actually get that many rush yards, but it seemed like whenever they handed him off the ball, he was getting yards after contact and driving this Packers team forward because it wasn't a great game from Jordan Love. He kind of had a few throws that he probably would have back. Um, so it seemed like a game that the Bears should have won, but the Packers like kind of hung around, and then the Bears got that touchdown with DeAndre Swift, running all the way in, which kind of drew the momentum back to the Bears, and yeah, they really should have won this game, but a really good block from the Packers, who are just one of those sneaky good teams again. What are they now? Are they?
Seven and
They
three.
8-3 or something,
Seven
or
and three.
7-3. So, they're hanging around like the NFC North is just so good. Like it's
Yeah.
yeah.
And they got some players back from injury as well. I mean, Christian Watson especially. I mean, he had what, 4 catches for 150 yards, was it,
Yeah, he had a
in this
great
game?
game.
He showing the deep threat that he is. If they can stay healthy, get healthy, and continue, this play that they're on, I have to agree with you, Tom. They are going to be a sneaky team to keep an eye on in this NFC playoff picture.
If also if I could recommend one play for you guys to go watch it, if you didn't already see it, but when Broderick Jones on the block just absolutely blindsided someone to open up that run, like that, I was watching it, I was like, damn, he's just pancaked that guy to next Tuesday. Like that was.
No pun
I was
intended.
watching that game and I was like, the big man play. I was like, I love that. Love to see that. So if they'd won the game, like that would have been a great
Yeah.
highlight. But unfortunately, they didn't. They didn't. But
I
so.
mean, it's interesting because Swift had a pretty quiet first part of the season. I had him because I had him in fantasy and I just couldn't start him, man, because he wasn't doing anything. And now he seems to really have come on. Yeah, I don't think there's much. I mean, this Bears team's pretty frustrating this year. Obviously, they came in with a lot of expectations. I have 2 good Bears fans here that I'm friends with, and one of them is already completely out on Caleb Williams, but the other one understands it's time to get rid of it. They both are ready for the coach and to be gone.
Yeah.
He didn't want Williams to begin with, but he's an odd bird. But anyway, yeah, it's interesting in the pack. I don't know what to think about this Packers team either. I know their defense is good. I know Jordan Love is good, but I don't know. I'm not sure sort of what they are going to be just quite yet, even though we're so far into the season. So I don't know if that's saying very much, but I just can't get a good handle on them. Still feels like they're just going to win 10 games because Matt LaFleur just is that good of a coach, and they do have that good of a team. So, but they don't seem unbeatable, you know.
No, they just seem like the sort of team that will like maybe like make it to the wild card or whatever, and then kind of maybe fizzle out. But
Yeah.
that remains to be seen. They might absolutely turn it on for the rest of the season. They might be one of those real big contenders. So yeah, as you
Yeah.
said, we still don't really know what they are.
Yeah. It was we had a lot. So those were kind of our main games of the week, and those were we had a lot of good football this week, which was great. Same thing in college. If you guys got to watch some college games, so we'll just
Yep.
speed through some of these other games. I think the first one to mention of note, not because the game was super entertaining for anyone except for Lions fans, but the Lions absolutely destroy the Jacksonville Jaguars 52-6. And it was awful. It was one of the worst defeats in the 30-year history of the Jags. The Lions had 475 yards more than Jacksonville, and Detroit scored on a touchdown each of its first 7 possessions. The Lions are a juggernaut right now. And I said a couple weeks ago they were my number one team just because I think they're such a balanced team. Not much to take away from this game. I'm actually surprised that we didn't see, I don't root for anyone to lose their jobs, but obviously Doug Peterson is not going to be around long. And I
No.
don't see why you don't go ahead and just cut the cord now. But, maybe because they're paying so many other
Is
coaches still in
is there bye
Jacksonville.
week? Is there bye week this upcoming week, week
I
12?
think they already had it because of the 2 London games, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they had it. I think they already had it, maybe.
Yeah, I
I,
think I could be mistaken.
but yeah, I mean
Uh,
the Lions are just front runners at this point. I mean they just beat up on bad teams. It's
yeah,
not to say that they don't beat good teams as well, but in terms of when they do beat the bad teams, it's very noticeable because they put their foot on their neck and don't really take it off at all. Um,
Oh no, it hasn't happened yet. It's week
yeah, I
12.
thought it. Yeah,
It's the
weird.
bye
so it
week.
is this
Okay,
week. Yeah. So that's what
okay,
I was just gonna say. Then I to be honest, I expect him to be fired over this bye week.
yeah,
It's the only time this year you've got enough time to, not bring someone in, but elevate someone already in that coaching staff. So we haven't seen it yet, which is a surprise. But I wouldn't be surprised if it does happen. 2-9, they got the worst record in the NFL. Unfortunately for my Browns, because they are preventing us from having the number one pick right now. But it's a draft I probably wouldn't want to have a number one pick in. So they had that mistake a few years ago when they drafted Trayvon Walker ahead of Aiden Hutchinson. So they'll probably be thinking about that. But no, just a terrible team, the Jaguars. It's kind of crazy how when you think about how expensive their offense is. Their offense is by no means any slack. Like they've got some good players on that team, and they are.
There was another injury as well. I think what was it Gabe Davis tore his meniscus or something? Not his ACL, but tore his meniscus. So
mm,
or part of his meniscus. So he's
Yeah,
either season-ending surgery or you get it a bit of it cut off, and then that's still another 4 weeks out anyway. So their season's gone anyway.
yeah. At
That
that
just
point,
compounds it.
yeah. If you're 9-2, you might be willing to take the more risky approach on that injury. But at 2-9, no, you just go and do what you need to do, get healthy, ready for next year.
yep. One little other tidbit. This was a scoregami.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, it was 52-6 was a scoregami.
All right.
The other thing that's worth mentioning because I like talking positive about Jared Goff. But this was he finished the game with a perfect passer rating of 158.3, and it makes him the first player in NFL history with multiple career games with at least 400 passing yards, 4 touchdown passes, and a 158.3 rating.
And I bet Chapman that it's the first time in NFL history that a player and a quarterback has thrown 5 interceptions and then the next week have a perfect passer rating. I'm sure that's
Possibly.
never happened before.
Yeah, surely that's got to be a thing. But
There's
yeah,
no way that's happened before. Yeah, I'm
a
sure that's the
great
first
bounce
time.
back game from him though. Yeah, after
Yeah.
throwing all those picks last week to just kind of brush that off and be like, yeah, we're just going to beat the crap out of this terrible Jags team. But still, you got to beat the teams that are in front of you, and when you
Exactly that.
bludgeon them like
Yep.
that, like it's yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. Next game up would be the Los Angeles Rams beating the New England Patriots 28-22. The Rams kind of keeping their hopes alive at 5-5 now. And the Patriots playing not necessarily for anything, but just trying to get better as a young team with Drake May, which I got to watch. I had this on the red zone. Every time we looked over, I was seeing Drake May making plays and
Yeah.
impressed with what he was doing. I think everybody in the football media world is excited to see what they can do once they get him.
Yeah.
I still know most of Patriots fans, which I say is just Bill Simmons and Carl that I know, are still questioning this coach. Seems a little bit weird, but anyway, the Rams again are 5-5, so that's in that three-way tie with the Niners and the Seahawks.
Yeah.
So not completely out of the question. I kind of left them for dead a few weeks ago.
Yeah, same.
But they getting Puka Nacua back, Cooper
Yeah.
Kupp still being healthy.
He had a great touchdown.
Oh yeah, that one.
Puka. I got
Yeah.
quite worried after he was on the floor for about a couple of minutes after.
20 minutes, it felt like.
Yeah,
It literally felt like quite a while because it was a rib injury he was dealing with.
Yeah.
So obviously you're worried about that he's landed on his ribs. I'm assuming that probably was what it was. It was obviously the sore ribs, but great catch from him. Same with me, Chapman. This is a team that me and Tom had spoke about on some of the stuff that we do that we were trying to do in the whole. We feel sorry for Rams fans for the injuries they were dealing and how it was probably going to derail their season. So credit to Sean McVay, credit to that team for steadying the ship, staying afloat, and managing through that kind of period where it felt like every player was injured. And now let's see, if they can get some guys back and maybe go on a run.
Yeah, it felt like they needed to win this game with the fact that they lost to the Dolphins last week. So they needed a bounce back game, and Matthew Stafford certainly had that. I think he had 4 touchdown passes, one to Nakua, one to Cooper Kupp, a really nice one to Colby Parkinson as well, the tight end. So yeah, a good bounce back from the Rams, and yeah, the crazy NFC West. Who knows? They could be leading it in a few weeks. Who knows? Like it's kind of mad.
Yeah. Next game up would be speaking of the Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders lose to the Miami Dolphins 34-19. Interesting enough, I don't really want to talk about either one of these teams. The only thing I want to mention is that Brock Bowers had a big day, and he's now sitting at 70 receptions on the season, and that is only second most ever for a rookie, next to Odell Beckham Jr., who had 71 through 10 games. Interesting little stat. Neither of these teams are going anywhere, but they do have a great tight end. Congratulations.
And I'm sure the Raiders can't wait to get a competent quarterback at some point. I hope they don't, but I'm sure they will at some point, because whatever they have right now is not that.
Well, they're 2-8 right now, Tom. I'll be shocked if they don't pick one of these quarterbacks in this draft, and you'll be pleased to know that I think that would be the wrong decision. So we'll see.
Well, we will see. We're not quite to the draft talk yet, guys. So
you guys might not be, but
well, we'll know. Give me a couple more weeks.
What, you got left tackle in mind, Ollie? Yeah.
Oh, I've got everything in mind, Tom.
Well, let's go ahead and hit it. The New Orleans Saints beat the Cleveland Browns 35-14 in what will be called the Taysom Hill game. Welcome to my life.
Yeah.
What I've lived with for the last I don't know how many years.
It's mental.
Tell us about this game.
Well, I mean, you mentioned Taysom Hill, and coming into this game, he had, I think it was 130 rushing yards on 27 carries. In this game alone, he had 138 rushing yards on 7 carries. That includes a 75-yard rushing touchdown out of the Wildcat, as well as a 30-yard touchdown on 4th down out of the Wildcat, like you didn't know what was coming. Pretty embarrassing stuff. I won't go too much into it. In the end of the day, this is a bad team, and they quit yesterday, and that was just the sign of it. It's basically just damage limitation at this point for the rest of the season.
Not to rub any salt in the wound, but he also returned a kickoff return for 42 yards yesterday as well. But you know
and
what?
threw
pass.
a and
To be
threw a
fair, do
pick
And
you
threw a
only
pass
see
as well.
you
and threw
only
a pick.
see yeah. Well, you only see the Saints every 4 years, where we see them twice a year, and he's
It's
still everyone in the building knows, hey,
I
if
know.
Taysom's still in there, and the Falcons still can't stop it.
It's insane,
It's
man. It's
it's
just like, what are you
insane.
doing? But you say that, Chapman. This was only the eighth time we played them since reactivation. It really is an unfamiliar foe for us, a team we're
right.
not used to playing. So you kind of don't really know what to expect going into these games. As bad as the Browns have been, I didn't expect it to be this bad.
Yeah.
But at least you had the bright spot of the touchdown for Jerry Jeudy. So tell us about that.
89-yard touchdown, fourth longest touchdown in Cleveland Browns history, and the longest touchdown in Jameis Winston's career. At that point, obviously, to potentially tie the game, you're thinking, wow, this is great. But, it's hard to talk about many positives out of a game where your team quit and got blown out by 3 scores to pretty much Taysom Hill alone. I mean, we held Alvin Kamara to 87 total yards and 0 touchdowns, but decided to let Taysom Hill have 188 total yards and 3 touchdowns, pretty much equaled his production that he had for the previous 9 games.
It seems like there is no comp for Taysom Hill as well. Like he's one of those players
He's
you're like,
34 as
I
well.
know.
Like, what is
He's
happening?
34. He could stick around for like another 5 years, and like he like I was watching what do you call it? Heed the Call today, and they're like he's just gonna end up in like the Saints Ring of Honor
Oh,
or something, isn't he?
100%.
Like just because of
A
like,
100%. And it's funny you say it, Tom, because I mean, obviously everyone on the Browns team was going, wow, they let a tight end. So if you're not that familiar with Taysom Hill, as not every fan is as nerdy as us guys are. And I saw tweets like, oh my God, the Browns let a tight end run for 130. And it just goes to show you how no one really knows what he is. And he just keeps performing. As you said, Chapman, you know what's coming. I mean, the guy's in the Wildcat, you know what's coming. And he runs for a 75-yard touchdown. Just embarrassing stuff.
He's very good. I'm not gonna lie. Like I don't know what devil magic he has, but he's very good. That's enough Saints Browns. So
Thank
going
you.
to the next game, the Indianapolis Colts
Yes.
defeat the New York Jets 28-27. This all comes on after being benched for the last 2 games. Anthony
Yep.
Richards comes back in, plays,
Redemption.
and runs a 4-yard touchdown in the final minute of the game to win this game. Not much to talk about here, though. I think the Colts are still fighting for a wild card. The Jets are dead. They're just
Yeah.
dead. And honestly, I mean, we've all seen the meme of that both Garrett Wilson and Sam Darnold both have better winning percentages than Rodgers did the same amount of. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Aaron Rodgers.
like, I'm not a big karma guy in terms of my beliefs, but it's just, I mean, I guess I'm not a Jets fan, so at least there's some hope in my life.
Yeah, he's
Anyway,
been bad. It's not even like he's been good and the team around him's been bad. We said it last week. We brought up the
yeah,
question: is Aaron Rodgers washed? I think those questions are still there. For me, just really good to see Anthony Richardson have a really good bounce back game. As someone that has stuck my neck out for him quite a lot, and he hasn't really shown much faith back in that. It is good to see him have a really good game, especially from a passing perspective. I mean, 20 for 30, 270 yards, really good day out for him. But as you said, the Jets just are kind of the Jets at this point, and Aaron Rodgers just continues his bad play.
the one thing that scares me though about I love watching Anthony Richardson, but at the same time, when it comes to the goal line, why does like he always just runs into the contact? Like that's how you get injuries and stuff. But
mm.
he loves running through people.
The
So
guy's 6'5", 250. What do you expect? Like, he's
yeah,
like Josh
true,
Allen on
true. I know,
steroids,
but
man.
like the injuries he's had are like
Oh
usually
no, yeah,
based
I
off of
completely
those
agree.
sort
Yeah,
of
yeah. Oh,
things.
100%.
He's also
But
like 19 years old, right, Tom? Like he's like
Oh,
not, he can't even
he's
buy beer yet.
he's 22, Chapman.
Yeah.
If a team, obviously quickly before but if someone had traded for him, obviously the whole trade tour, they could have sat him for 2 years, and he still would have been younger than Bo Nix.
Yeah.
also, can we like obviously the Jets defense has been vaunted or whatever. Can we talk about how like they actually just not that good? and that
I said it weeks
No,
ago.
because I don't want to talk about the Jets anymore.
Yeah,
No,
good
no,
idea.
This is a
I just
Jets-free
want to say
zone,
one
Tom.
thing. I just want to say that Sauce Gardner has been one of the worst tacklers in the NFL this year. And even though, and last week I read about this, that Jeff Ulbrich literally brought them in to say like, oh, do you know, let's improve tackling. He said, oh, we've got nothing to improve. So it just shows the entitlement of what the Jets are, and they deserve everything that's happening to them. So we can move
He can probably
he's
come
a
play for the
zone
Falcons.
corner merchant. He's a zone corner merchant.
Like
on.
I have some really nice Jets fans in my life, and they're not. It's weird because they're actually really good people, but I don't know what they did to deserve this. But anyway, they're going to be cleaning house. They'll get a whole new team
Yep.
for whatever, and then maybe Woody Johnson gets another job with the Trump administration, and his brother or whomever can run the team for a few years, and maybe that'll help. I don't know. Maybe they've got another brother, sister, somebody
Well,
who can run the team.
as resident British people, I hope he's not the British ambassador to the UK again.
Oh no, you're gonna get somebody even better, I'm sure. All right, moving right along. We might as well talk about my game, which will it was the Atlanta Falcons losing on the road to the Denver Broncos, 87,000 to 6. Actually, the score was just 38 to 6, but it might as well have been 50,000. Let's talk about Denver first because that's the more positive part of this game. Tom, I believe you texted me today because you felt like I needed more Bo Nix stats and wanted to hear more about how great.
Yeah, well, I wanted to say it because Ollie is definitely not a believer, but I just wanted to throw this out there. So since starting the season with four interceptions and no passing touchdowns, since week four, he's thrown for 14 touchdowns and three picks, which the only players with better percentages than that are Justin Herbert and Lamar Jackson, which shows the uptake in form for the Broncos. And yeah, Bo Nix is playing well. He had four touchdowns in this game, over 300 yards. Obviously, I know the Falcons didn't play well, but still, you have to go out there and play and do that. And he seems to be doing that right now. So I think I might be becoming a little bit of a Bo lever.
Well, my response to that is that Matt Jones went 10-7 as a rookie and had 23 touchdowns. That's all I'll say.
Well, I think the thing that we're talking about here is that, right now Bo Nix is playing well, but I would say the difference is Sean Payton is as much as I can't stand him, and he is absolutely the Falcons' daddy now, and he is the Falcons' daddy. He's got this team playing really well. First of all, they have a super physical defense that is much about, as you saw last week, Tom. This defense is getting better week on week, really physical, did not give up anything, pressuring the quarterback. I mean, I don't think Kirk Cousins had any comfortable, only a few comfortable plays yesterday. They stopped the run and the pass really well. And then obviously you're playing a really, really soft, bad defense in the Atlanta Falcons yesterday, and Bo Nix did take advantage of them. And Mims had a great game. There was another dude caught a really great touchdown from him, whose name I can't remember. Forgive me. I should know that for the pod.
Vele? Was it Vele?
Let me look on the laps. But just saying, I have been on the same. It's Franklin.
Troy Franklin, who fell in this draft.
Yeah, he had a good game as well. Well, he just caught the one touchdown, but I feel like he was in a lot more. But it was Sutton and Mims had
Yeah.
and Humphrey. Look, everybody who could catch passes was catching passes. What was I going to say? I've been very critical of Bo Nix only because of, again, I've said this a million times, watching him so much at Auburn, and then the one year, obviously the one really great year at Oregon last year. I was questionable, but Sean Payton, I think, has done what they haven't done for Caleb, which put him in positions to make good plays and win. And as he's progressed and gotten more confidence, even against Kansas City last week, he's gotten better. And honestly, after a really heartbreaking loss last week, there's nothing better than having a soft defense like the Falcons come up and you can just pound them and feel good about yourself. On the flip side of this, I, as a Falcons fan, like I love this team, but I have been cautiously not optimistic, average the whole year.
Yeah.
And this, I really needed after the loss last week of the Saints to come and see them play well. It was okay to lose this game, but to play well, but they did not. And I'm putting this squarely on the coaching staff. I mean, how do you 2 games in a row not look ready? And I just think this defensive scheme is terrible. Like, I mean, why are you playing off ball in the red zone? I mean, I just don't know what Jimmy Lake's doing. And I think Raheem, with his pedigree, especially even last year, people gave him so much credit for what he did in Los Angeles last year with rookies and like off the garbage guys on that defense. I'm just like, what's happening? Because our defense, we improved last year under Ryan Neusel, who we all liked. And then, we got 40 sacks for the first time or whatever it was and God knows how long. And we've only regressed and we added talent. Jonnu Smith has been a complete bust for us. Simmons has played well, but again, everybody's we had a lot of injuries going into this game, but man, it was just depressing. I mean, this is honestly one of the worst beats I can remember in a while. Like, besides the one we all know about, but like literally regular season games where it was just deflating. So I don't quite know what to expect this team. They're not in the driver's seat in terms of the playoffs now, and you would have thought 2 weeks ago the division was ours, but Tampa Bay's coming, man, and we play the Chargers at home coming out of the bye, then we go to Vegas, and then we have Washington. I mean, yeah, you should beat the Raiders, but like those other 2 games, I don't know, man. We'll see. Anyway, that's enough on them. I'm sorry, I should have got on my soapbox. Our last game, not one to remember, but it was the Minnesota Vikings defeat the lonely Tennessee Titans 23 to.
Was this at 6 o'clock? This game?
It was, I think.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I'm telling you now, either my red zone was
Didn't see any of it.
I didn't see any of this game.
Yeah, it's a meaningless game. Honestly, I mean, I hate to say that if you're a Vikings fan, but like literally, you're 8-2 now. Titans are 2-8. It's more 2 teams going. This direction.
I only saw 2 things from this game. I saw a great throw from Sam Darnold to Jordan Addison for a touchdown. And then I saw Andrew Van Ginkel get a sack, which meant that he's got 8 sacks on the year now. So a great free agent signing for the Vikings. But other than that, that's literally the only thing I saw. I think there was a touchdown from Will Levis as well to what's the Calvin Ridley as well. Oh no. Westbrook.
No, it was just big play.
It was Westbrook Akine, wasn't it?
Yeah, Westbrook Akine. I think he had 2 catches for over 100 yards in this game.
Yeah, I think this was a good game for Will Levis from what I heard about it and what have you. But yeah, not a lot of it was on red zone, so I didn't catch a lot of it, to be honest.
But he threw a really bad interception in the game as well. You're not keeping
Will Levis
him around.
Experience.
Yeah, well, and Cam Akers has been quite good. He caught a touchdown yesterday and ran for another 25. Anyway, he's been a nice little addition. If you like a touchdown about vulture on your fantasy team, I gotta do these mouth warm-ups before we get on this thing. Sorry. Anyway, and obviously there's one more game, which is tonight, and it is the Cardinals and the Panthers. Can't say it's like a super crazy matchup we're excited about. Panthers have been frisky though. They're not just a pushover. I assume Kyler Murray will go off in this game, but they're not.
You said Cardinals Panthers tonight?
Yeah.
No, it's Texans Cowboys tonight.
What? I thought. Oh, they're on bye. Sorry, my bad. It's I totally messed up.
I was so confused by that.
Cowboys Texans. I'm so sorry. I looked at the wrong
Battle of Texas.
Sorry, we had 4 teams on bye, which were the Cardinals, the Panthers, the Giants, and the Buccaneers. I apologize. I was trying to do too much at one time. Yes, it is the Texans and at Dallas tonight.
Yep. Let's hope they got the stadium cleared from all of the plastic cups, I'm sure, that were scattered after the Jake Paul fight. Or shall we say plastic cups or baggies? I'm not really sure which one. But I mean, it's Battle of Texas. You've got the Dallas team that aren't really going anywhere. Is it going to be Trey Lance starting, or who's the other guy that they got there?
Cooper Rush, I think, is starting.
Cooper Rush.
Yeah.
I suppose we'll have to see. I think we all expect, even with the kind of little bit of a slump that they've been on, that the Texans are going to take, pretty comfortable job with this and put the Cowboys away. But you never know. Battle of Texas. Who knows? We'll see.
I was going to say one final thing on with with the Vikings, Justin Jefferson became, I think he's got the most receiving yards through a player's first 5 seasons in NFL history. So he continued his historic, career so far. But yeah, you're right. I do think the Texans should take care of this, terrible Cowboys team. Let's be
Yeah.
honest. I mean, other than, Michael Parsons, there's nothing else to get excited about on this team.
Is he even back
Michael
from his
Parsons
injury?
is CeeDee Lamb, but like, I mean, who's throwing the ball to CeeDee Lamb? Like,
Yeah,
how's
well,
he
yeah.
going to get the ball? And I mean, he's just going to force feed it to CeeDee Lamb. So if that can get
But
them the win, then fair play. But I do think the Texans bounce back and
yeah.
get the win.
But now we've said that, that Trey Lance is going to go throw for 300 yards
Yeah,
and
yeah,
somehow win
five
it. Yeah.
touchdowns or
It's,
something.
it's always how
Yeah.
it goes.
Well, we'll definitely watch the highlights tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Jake Paul fight and people coming out of retirement, my question for the day is if you could pick one player from your old Browns slash Chiefs slash Falcons team who's
Yep.
retired, but that you think could still play today, who would you pick to
Easy.
be added to your team?
So easy. Joe Thomas. Have you seen this man? He looks in better shape now than he did when he was playing. This man is absolutely ripped. He's been coaching offensive linemen over in Germany. I've seen the videos. He's been getting involved in the drills. Our left tackle's just gone down. I can guarantee you that Joe Thomas would do a better job out there than Jedrick Wills. So very easy for me, that one. Joe Thomas.
See, for me, there's one player who I'd love to see in the current Chiefs team, but I don't know if he's still got the legs or not. But I'll go. I'm going to go for it anyway. I would love to see Patrick Mahomes and Jamal Charles in the same offense. Like
Ooh.
that would be nasty. I think. I think he played for the wrong Chiefs era of football. So if
Well,
he
he
played in today's, but I think he would be an absolute beast. Obviously, he was a beast anyway. But yeah, I would love to see that.
pretty much scored every touchdown you had in that was it 2012 when you didn't have a single receiver register a touchdown.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, I would
Yeah,
love
it
to
would be
see
pretty
that.
fun to see
I,
him with a 3-2, a 4-2 guy behind him.
I was pretty sure you would say Jamal Charles, by the way. I'm not, I mean, like the heart for me says, but I don't think he could still play right now is just because it's been too many years. But John Abraham, just because I need a sack. I just need some sort of quarterback pressure at this team. We have the worst line. But I think if I was gonna say like who do I think could like actually uh come in and play, I think Michael Turner might have a little bit. I know he's on the he's he does a podcast with Ovi Mihaly, who was our old fullback during the Vic years, and kind of think Michael Turner might could come in and run the rock a little bit. Um,
That could be a
but
sneaky good pick up there.
yeah, well, thanks for playing along, guys. That's it tonight. Do you guys got any little bits, any
I
other
was
little
going to say
things?
one more thing. That it looks like the Daniel Jones era
Oh,
is
yeah,
Oh yeah.
over.
he's been benched.
With Tommy DeVito being announced as the starter for the next game.
Get used to a lot
And
of
the
these
Giants
boys.
didn't lose this week, so they're on a bye week. So
Yeah,
there you go.
get used to a lot of these on social media in the next the kind of
And maybe we
odd
see his agent as
stereotypes of
well, who's literally
Italians
the
that they're
shade, the
doing.
weirdest
Yeah.
looking guy.
Well, or the funniest thing can always happen where Tommy Cutlets goes down like after like the first game he starts, and then they have to put Daniel Jones back in.
You've got to put him back in. Oh,
Yeah,
imagine.
so that's always the worst.
I'm not hoping for injury, but that would be quite funny.
No, I'm not either, but
You
that
could
it
just
just seems
re-sign Tyrod Taylor from the Jets, I guess.
For
um
what? To win 3 games this year?
well, I've been arguing with one of my buddies, one of the Bears fans about, and he was saying like, oh, these the rookie quarterbacks, like you can't it's just always such a bust, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, well, what do you do? Like not draft quarterbacks? Like what do
Well, yeah,
you
that's
like?
it. Yeah,
It's like what's
it's
the you know?
yeah.
So it's interesting. Well, it's really good seeing you guys, and welcome to Losers Corner, Tom.
Yeah.
Cheers.
I'm sure you won't be here long.
No.
Well, we
Thanks
got the
again.
Panthers next week, so I hope not.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Well,
Yeah.
I've got the Steelers on an early week, so I definitely will be.
We have our bye week, so I get to just lounge in this awfulness for another 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for joining us, guys. It's been Hurdle the Line. Remember to follow, like, review, and follow the other AAW network stuff. College Game, our friends over at the preview team, comes out on Friday, and we, of course, will be back again next week, reviewing week 12. I want to thank Tom. I want to thank Ollie. Thanks super producer Fletch. This has been Hurdle the Line week 11 review show. Hurdle that losers Monday.
There we go.